The slap echoed like thunder through the hushed first-class cabin, snapping every head towards Seat 1C. The flight attendant's hand trembled, her face flushed with panic. The man she had just struck, dressed in an elegant gray suit, sunglasses slightly crooked, remained completely still. No one dared move. No one dared breathe. He was the only black man in first class, a tech billionaire, a face known on magazine covers and business panels across America. But tonight, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. He smiled calmly and said, "I think it's time we all take a good look at ourselves." It was a red-eye flight from Houston to San Francisco, already delayed by over 2 hours due to mechanical issues. By now it was past 1 a.m., and the aircraft cruised quietly at 38,000 feet. Most passengers were asleep or lost in their screens. In Seat 1C sat Jeremiah Cole, founder and CEO of the AI conglomerate Neurogrid. He was 38, brilliant, black, and bold. The kind of man who didn't just break through ceilings, he shattered them. Orphaned young, raised in the tough neighborhoods of Detroit, he taught himself code, built software from scratch, and eventually created one of the most powerful platforms in artificial intelligence. Jeremiah didn't demand luxury for ego. He simply appreciated excellence and expected it in return. But tonight, after 3 polite requests, he still hadn't received a proper cup of hot ginger tea. In the service galley was Kara Jensen, 43, a veteran flight attendant with nearly 2 decades in the air. But behind her professional smile hid a storm. A recent divorce, a rebellious teenage daughter, her mother's dementia, and a stack of medical bills. Tonight, Kara was covering a last-minute shift after a colleague called out. She hadn't eaten, she hadn't slept, and she had nothing left to give. And somehow, tonight, she and Jeremiah were about to crash into each other, somewhere above the clouds. "Apologies, Mr. Cole," Kara said, placing a cup on his tray. "We're out of fresh ginger. This is a bagged version." Jeremiah took 1 sip and grimaced. "It's lukewarm and tastes like dishwater." A few passengers glanced up. Kara clenched the tray with white knuckles. "I'll try again." "This is the 3rd time. I didn't think a simple tea request would be this complicated," he replied, his voice calm but piercing. Kara turned away, trying to hold in the anger building in her chest. 10 minutes later, the service button chimed again. Kara returned. "Maybe I should just call your airline and request a new crew next time," Jeremiah quipped, half joking, half not. Kara shot him a look, exhaustion bleeding through her voice. "Maybe you should try serving yourself, since you seem to know everything." A silence fell over the aisle. Jeremiah leaned back, steady as ever. Frustration does not excuse disrespect. And then, after weeks of stress, years of pressure, and the invisible weight of being unseen, Kara snapped. Her hand flew. A slap. Audible. Unmistakable. Jeremiah didn't move. His sunglasses slipped, his expression unreadable. He didn't speak. Didn't threaten. He simply stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked calmly toward the cockpit. The cabin buzzed with whispers. Kara, still standing, felt the heat rise to her ears. Her stomach churned. Reality crashed down. She had just assaulted a billionaire. Her job, her future, could vanish. She retreated to the galley, breathing hard, her heart pounding. Years of discipline shattered in an instant. 10 minutes later, Jeremiah returned, with a notebook and pen in hand. He didn't sit down. He stood in the aisle, facing the passengers like a man addressing a room full of executives. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I apologize for the earlier disruption. But I believe tonight offers us an opportunity. A mirror, if you will." You could hear a pin drop. He held up a sheet of paper. "I've just donated $10,000 to an organization that provides mental health support for airline staff. Because what we often forget is that the ones serving us are often the ones suffering most." A few claps. He held up another. "Another $10,000 to a youth program in Detroit. Because kids who grow up where I did need to know they can still become someone, even when the world ignores them." Heads turned. Even skeptical faces began to soften. "And this one," he said, holding up a 3rd slip, "is a $25,000 scholarship for any crew member on this flight who wants to return to school, switch careers, or simply restart. Gasps, applause. One man stood and shouted, "You're a legend, man!" Jeremiah turned to Kara. "I'm not pressing charges. I'm not asking for her to be fired. I'm asking for something far more difficult, for us to understand." Kara stepped out, hands shaking, tears now visible. He continued, "Miss Jensen, what happened tonight wasn't really about tea, was it?" She swallowed hard. "No," she said, barely audible. "It was everything. The pressure, the pain, and feeling invisible." Jeremiah nodded slowly. "I've been there." He extended his hand. She stared at it, unsure, then took it. A silent, trembling handshake. When the plane touched down, there was no tension, just quiet reflection. People who had seen Jeremiah as arrogant now whispered his name with respect. As the seatbelt sign turned off, Jeremiah collected his things. Before stepping off the plane, he turned to Kara one last time. "Take care of yourself," he said gently. "You're stronger than you think." Kara nodded, unable to speak. On his seat, she found a business card. On the back, he'd written, "Let me know if you ever need help chasing your dreams." Kara would never forget that note. She later transferred to the airline's training division, mentoring younger flight attendants. 6 months later, she enrolled in night classes for HR management. And the card, she keeps it in her wallet. A reminder that not all breaking points are endings. Some are just the beginning of who we're meant to become. Every person carries a story, a burden, a breaking point. One moment of kindness can interrupt the spiral. One act of grace can rewrite a narrative. Power isn't in revenge, it's in restraint. And sometimes the strongest thing we can do is simply choose to see each other. If this story moved you, share it, because someone out there might just need their Jeremiah moment too.